made such a good kickoff for having more opportunities to talk about.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. And we're 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
You see me,
Yeah.
the glare on my head. Yeah.
Twist it a little bit.
It can, that thing can go up too. Yeah, there you go. That's good. Can you maybe put the whole thing up a little bit? Yeah, there we go. That's good. Hey, Shelby, Anna Marie, how are you guys doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good, good, good.
Yeah.
Anna Marie is our a sniper on the lacrosse field, I guess.
Oh,
These guys, almost all of our sports teams are like going to national tournaments.
wow.
Yeah. So you guys compete this week, right, Anna Marie?
Yes, so we leave tomorrow, and because we're like first seed in our conference, we get like a bye for the first round, but then we play Friday and Saturday.
Okay. Hey guys, turn on your, if you don't mind, turn on your camera. That way it's a little bit less impersonal. And Brooke, are you hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You're in Keith's class?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Because now were you in zoology last year?
I was in biology, yeah, last year, first semester with you.
Okay, but you do education, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and there's some.
Wait, I thought Keith's class was canceled today.
It is, but I know that he asked people you could tune in for extra credit. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but guys, this is Will England, and in fact, Brooke, Will is you were an education major to begin with, right?
Early childhood education. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I think that's what Brooke is doing.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting that we have bio and education,
Right.
because that's kind of the point of these talks, is just when you're young, I think it's hard to know where you're going to end up in the future. A lot of times we have sort of vision about what we're going to do. That may be formed by what our parents want us to do. That could be formed based on a lot of assumptions about what life is like and what is important in jobs.
Right.
So I think it's good for all of you guys to be thinking about what are actually options. So that's why I invited Will. So Will, can you just tell these guys, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Jasper, so Pickens
you're
County.
Pickens County, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So not a lot of job opportunities in Pickens County. But one thing I did realize my second year in college was that I had a passion for teaching, I had a passion for education. I needed money, and so I took a job as don't we all?
Yeah,
And I needed a job at that particular time, and substitute teaching happened to come up.
oh, okay.
So my first day in the classroom, I knew that I loved it. I knew this is what I wanted to do.
What grade
Which
was that?
That was in third grade.
Third grade, okay.
Yep. So a third grade classroom, which that was very beneficial for me because up to that point, I just kind of wandered around college. I flipped through the manual to see what classes were offered, especially entry level. I took a psychology course. I took one about law enforcement.
Okay,
Just
trying to looking around. Yeah.
I did, and flunked several classes. So I had a GPA of a 1.8, and I was on academic probation.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so I had a tough time, but then once I did substitute teaching, I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
You found the why.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I worked as a parapro while I was going to college and graduated in 2011.
Did
right
you really
smack
work
dab.
through?
Yeah.
Through
So I took
the
night
time?
courses.
Okay.
And so I graduated right in the middle of a recession as
Okay.
they were laying teachers off.
Oh, yeah, 2011.
There was no jobs
Yeah,
unless you wanted to go inner city or South Georgia.
okay.
So went from there and I kind of wandered some more. I got into insurance and figured out within 2.5 years that I was not a salesman.
Okay.
And,
You're an honest person.
yes.
She said, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, you have to be able to smudge the truth a little bit. to
Yeah,
tell
that's
insurance. Went from that to building cabinets at a woodworking place.
Okay.
And at that point, I met my wife, and I knew that I wanted to get married.
Okay.
And I knew that I could not continue to get the same amount of pay that I was building cabinets and the lack of benefits.
Oh, right.
So that led me to the water authority.
Okay.
I had a good friend of mine that told me about the water authority, told me about the health insurance, the pension program, the fact they offer short-term, long-term disability, life insurance, and all kind of things like that.
Yeah, so these are things that it's sort of like pointless to ask you guys to start thinking about these because I mean I didn't start thinking about them until I had children either.
Right.
It's like don't rule them out though, and to keep it in the back of your head that's important. You know, like teachers, like for Brooke, that's one of the best parts about teaching. You know, and let's see, Anne Marie, what do you want to do?
I kind of want to become a dentist and do something with that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, great pay. That you do. I mean, there's the passion side of things, and that's all I focused on because all I wanted to do was catch animals. And my grandpa was just telling me like, you know. But I get it now. Like you have to be realistic to say like you need a certain amount of money just to live comfortably.
You do.
You know. And
Absolutely.
so sometimes it's not necessarily where you think you're going to end up, and it may not be something that you're really. Were you excited about working for the Cherokee County Sewer and Water Authority?
Ish, I guess. So the position I got hired on for was a flagman. So I was the guy on the side of the road that directs traffic.
Okay.
Stop, come on.
Yeah.
Which is not very much fun.
Yeah.
It's a good foot in the door, and that was the thing I was going after. One good thing about the Water Authority and very few other companies now, they allow you to move up from within. So every job position that comes available stays internal for 2 weeks, and then it goes external after that. So if you've already got a foot in the door, even if it's a job that you don't really want, you can kind of move up and move around as your ambition allows.
Yeah.
So that worked out really well for me. I stayed in the flagman position for 8 months, so a lot longer than I thought I was going to. But then a wastewater operations job came available, and I knew absolutely nothing about wastewater. How it was treated, what it looked like, what there was no, and a lot of people are that way.
Yeah,
The
right.
idea of how
We
water
flush
gets treated,
You flush the toilet and then that's it.
it disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had no clue all the ins and outs that would be involved with it, the chemistry,
Mhm.
the biology.
Yeah.
You know, we, at our wastewater plants, we do a biological treatment. We provide all the needs for the microorganisms,
Right.
you know, rotifers, water bears, free swimming ciliates, stalk ciliates, just all kind of organisms like that. And they're the ones that break down the bacteria, they break down the ammonia.
Yeah.
Wastewater is high in ammonia when it comes in. They break that down, ammonia to nitrite to nitrate. So it's most stabilized form of nitrogen. They take up phosphorus. So there's just a lot of good things that they do. And that's the bulk of our treatment.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of jobs that at surface level seem very uninteresting. For those of us who are, you know, curious intellectually and want to be, you're excited about ideas and things.
Right.
You don't want to end up in a job where you're just doing just repetitive, boring stuff. I think that there's something to be said about foregoing a little earning power so that you don't hate your life.
Yes.
But you know, you could work like with one of our alumni is working at Budweiser now. There's a lot of biology that happens in making beer.
There absolutely is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of jobs in the pre-treatment side of wastewater, like you're talking about Budweiser or lots of other.
Right.
Mhm.
They use a lot of water that needs to be very, very clean.
Yes, and it's very specified as to what the treatment is depending on the process.
Mhm.
The treatment for Pilgrim's Pride, the chicken plant here in Cherokee County, its pre-treatment is going to look vastly different than Budweiser. And a lot of other businesses, both those type of jobs require a wastewater operations license. So that's a license that's issued from the state that you have to obtain.
You have to go to classes, take tests and things like that.
Right. And the good thing about operations in that is the classes is a 1 week, you take a 1 week class.
Yeah.
Usually they do it at Carrollton and then you go take a license.
Mhm. And
So
then you earn a lot more money by doing it.
absolutely. And that's one thing I liked about the water authority in wastewater anyways. The more license that you obtain, the higher your pay goes. So it allows you to move up on your own based on, you had to have a certain amount of time in to sit for the test.
Mhm.
But once you got the time in and you have the education requirements, you could sit for the test, pass the test and.
My brother-in-law
Get your
is doing
license.
that now. He's a wastewater operator.
Right.
Anthony McFarland.
Yes.
So you guys have wastewater, you have clean water,
Hmm.
you have, and then your environmental affairs,
Yes.
right? And then you ended up there, and that seems like most relevant to biology, maybe most directly. I think a biology student could look at that and say like, okay, yeah, that's something I could see my training going towards, because you
Right.
guys do environmental testing for.
So the reason that our department even exists, in order to discharge wastewater, you have to, the water authority has to have an NPDES permit, which is National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. And part of the requirements for that permit is you have to have a certain amount of watershed testing.
Okay.
And that's where we come in.
Oh, I see.
And in addition to that, we also have the education component. So the permit requires that we have,
Oh,
a
it's
certain amount of-
specified too.
yes.
Oh, okay.
So the education and the watershed testing
Okay.
is both components of that permit.
To make sure your effluent is not adversely affecting the ecosystem and watershed.
Among other things, yes. So one of our wastewater plants discharges into Little River. We have 6 sites on Little River that we look at, along with certain tributaries along the Little River, all the way up in just inside the Fulton County line.
Okay.
And then we sample some of the major contributors to Little River as it comes down. And then we also sample up and downstream of that wastewater plant, just to isolate and look at, you know, Mill Creek comes into Little River. What's the influence of Mill Creek compared to Copper Sandy Creek, compared to Chicken Creek, which are all coming into Little River. So if you had a major bacteria spike, then you couldn't go back and say it came from the wastewater plant.
Right. Okay.
You
Yeah.
can say, well, we did some testing along through here.
So what's a project that you worked on, say like this year that you really was exciting to you? Something that you did when you went to work,
I had several actually. So one, we hopefully have successfully delisted a stream.
okay.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with like the 305B list
Yeah, like those
or
places.
D
that
list,
are-
I'm sorry.
Is that an EPD thing?
It is.
Okay.
So certain waters of the state, they get listed as either meeting or not meeting for certain parameters based on what they're used for. So let's say Shoal Creek is primarily used for fishing. If it has a high bacteria number or a high ammonia number or some kind of high parameter, then the state can come in based on a certain amount of data that can say that Shoal Creek is listed as not meeting the fishing standard because of high bacteria.
Okay.
So the way that that gets undone, the way that you combat that is you set up a swap. You set up a testing procedure on how you're going to prove to the state that in fact Shoal Creek does not have a bacteria problem.
Okay.
And so they specify you have to do certain numbers of samples and it needs to be in wet and dry conditions and they set up the specifications for that.
Huh.
So our project this year, or actually last year, we worked on delisting several segments of the Etowah River for bacteria.
Oh, okay.
And we also worked on delisting Clark Creek, which is over in Ackworth.
Okay.
So that was a pretty neat project.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's
Another thing I really enjoyed, I created a lesson plan for how to teach third or fourth grade, can't remember now, students about wastewater, about the microbiology of it.
Oh, okay.
One of the standards talked about harmful or hurtful microbiology.
Okay.
So I was able to use wastewater as the vehicle
Okay.
to teach about that kind of stuff. So that was
So
very,
your education background came in understanding standards and the challenges that teachers face. And again, just have somebody come in and talk about anything that has to address
yeah,
standards.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's so many, the wastewater process is so complex
Mhm.
that you can use different
Uh-huh.
aspects of
Yeah.
wastewater treatment to teach some of
That's
these
cool.
standards.
Have you delivered those yet to students?
Well, yes and no. I did a Nearpod lesson.
Oh, okay.
I did it in person. The original I wrote was a in-person lesson.
Right.
And
You
with
can't get
COVID
in
and everything,
schools,
you can't
yeah.
get in schools.
Yeah.
So to try to amend that, I created a Nearpod lesson.
Yeah. Okay. And then they
To-
just park it in campus or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I had one teacher from Holly Springs that actually did the Nearpod lesson, and she gave good feedback about
good.
it. I'd much rather have been in person, but
Yeah.
you do what you got to do.
Well, my wife teaches fourth grade up here at RMR, so.
Okay,
She'll be, and she does science too, so,
wonderful.
yeah, so she'll be getting paid for you anytime.
All right. Yeah, I'd
Um,
love to do that lesson with them.
so what's the worst part of your job? What are the parts that just drag on? That's the thing, I always
Yeah.
say, if it was fun every day, they wouldn't have to pay you, right? So what are the parts that they actually have to pay you for?
I don't know. I don't really have something I don't like. When I was in construction, I didn't like being out in the weather all the time.
Right.
When it was raining, when it was sleeting, when it was snowing,
Yeah.
good and bad weather, being outside. When I was in insurance, I hated being inside all the time.
Uh-huh. Right.
So what I do now allows me to be inside in certain conditions and outside in certain conditions. And most of our sampling isn't, you have to go out sampling on Tuesday.
Right. Yeah.
So I have flexibility to be able to say, okay, Tuesday, we're supposed to have just a rain,
Mhm.
heavy downpour. I'm not going out sampling on Tuesday. Instead, I'll go out sampling on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So that's a nice aspect. I don't like putting a square peg in a square hole every day, doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And having the education and the laboratory portion,
Yeah.
both allows enough variability in my day
Yeah,
that
that's cool.
I don't do the same thing every day.
No.
So I don't really have anything in particular that I don't like about my job. I like
Your
the,
boss is gonna like to see
yes.
this. So if a student is thinking that this may be something they want to do, is there other types of places to work to do environmental science and stuff like this besides Cherokee County? Because I know there's not a lot of positions in Cherokee County Sewer and Water Authority for environmental affairs stuff, right? They don't come
No.
up very often, but
They don't.
other type of agencies have similar positions.
You know, you can start out, EPD, they're
Oh, okay.
always needing people.
Are they really? Okay.
They don't pay very good, but it gives you a lot of good experience.
Okay.
And so it gets you your foot in the door, and then you can move to other agencies. Cobb County does their own. They do watershed testing. They do wastewater and water testing
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
Fulton County is the same way. So there's a lot of different opportunities that you could look at.
And most of these are a 4-year degree is sufficient to get your foot in the door and to obtain
With EPD, absolutely.
okay.
Some of the requirements for other, like with Cobb County and Fulton and some of the other ones, their requirements are a little different depending on where you go. With Cherokee County, in order to be an operator, your education requirement is a high school diploma, and then you can move up
Right.
in, you know, in
That's great.
operations just with that.
Yeah, that's unfortunately rare these days to be able to get a job. If you're a hard worker and you have a high school diploma, you can make a
Yeah,
good living. That's
absolutely.
great.
And the average pay isn't bad. I think the average for the state of Georgia is 49,000 a year for operations.
Okay.
And depending on where you go, that could go up or down. And depending on your level of what license you hold. And some places you go down to a city of Atlanta, you can get differential pay. So if you work night shift as opposed to day shift,
Right.
you get more money doing that.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of different options that are out there.
Yeah. And here's the thing is I see our students, a lot of our students, maybe not these guys, but they want to work with great white sharks and they want to do all these things. And I think it's great to have those dreams. But in 4 years, they're working for Cobb County, they're working for Cherokee County, or they're working. I think it's a matter of getting realistic as soon as you can, and just finding out that this is not a horrible place to work.
Right.
There's a lot of charm and a lot of excitement and stimulation. And you know, you start earlier, you're gonna end making more and retire making more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're right. There are research opportunities, and like I said, EPD is all the time looking for different people.
Okay.
I think DNR and some of the other environmental governmental agencies are constantly looking for people. You have plenty of opportunity to get experience doing those things, but their pay is not very competitive.
Okay.
Maybe that'll change one day, but as it stands right now, that's not the case. So definitely moving to something like the Water Authority, Cherokee County, or Fulton County, or Cobb, or some of the other surrounding areas. Not to limit to just them, but they're the ones I'm most familiar with.
Okay.
The metro areas seem like they pay better, more rural.
Cost of living and all that.
Right.
And then not this year, the deadline is passed, but next year, will you come back and you're gonna tell these guys about the internship? Matt Webb worked with you guys 2 summers ago.
Yes.
Matt Webb, I don't know if you guys know him, lacrosse player, just all around good fella. I think he wanted to do maybe physical therapy, PA, something like that. He did this internship and now he's going for a master's of art in teaching.
Yes.
Because what experience he had working with you guys and saying like, this is my passion. So
Absolutely.
I think that if you can swing it next summer, at least we need to get some more applications and get, because there's no alternative to just getting your feet wet, literally for you guys.
Right. Getting the more opportunities that you check out and you try.
Yeah.
There's a lot of jobs that I had that they weren't very good jobs, but having the experience of no, that's not what I
You
want.
eliminated something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And each job you learn, and each experience that you have, you learn something different about yourself. I like being inside, or I like being outside,
Right.
or I
working
like
with
doing,
people.
I like working with
Yeah.
people, or I like doing the same thing day in and day out.
Yeah.
Or I don't.
Yep.
So the more experiences that you have, the more kind of check marks on a list of things that you think you might like to do.
Yep.
The more things you could try out, the better.
I'm in agreement.
and the more people that you can meet.
Yeah, the networking.
Yeah, the networking is very important. You never know what connection that you've made, even, at a random grocery store or something, just
You're right.
conversation with a random individual.
Yeah. Every
never
person
know.
you meet is an
Absolutely.
opportunity, yeah. So, all right, guys, I know a lot of you guys have to run off to, well, there's Gabe. Gabe, how are you? Gabe,
I'm doing well. How are you?
good. So, Gabe, you want to do environmental sciences stuff, right? Or no,
I'm
you,
trying to be a T actually.
that's right. But Gabe is doing some water sampling for us down here at the lake.
Okay.
So, no, is this right? Your uncle is Steve West, something like that?
My grandfather, yes.
Grandfather. Do you know Steve?
Commissioner,
Yeah.
I've not had the pleasure to meet him. no.
Okay. But he's a person in Cherokee County. I mean, the fact that we knew him, but
Yeah.
Gabe's one of our baseball players, and
Okay.
I knew you had some level of interest in environmental sciences. So, but even so, even if you want to do PA, I mean, and it's paid internship and
Right.
So, but
Yeah, and trying to kind of diversify what I'm doing, especially like I have hours interning at a dentistry office. I have hours interning at PT offices. I've got just a multitude of different things. I'm just trying to make sure when I go into PT that's what I want to do.
yeah, you're right, because it's a big commitment.
It is.
Yep. So cool. Well, thanks all for tuning in, and Will, thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Did anyone have any questions?
Oh yeah,
for
you
me?
guys have questions? I'm sorry, I'm cutting everyone off here.
All right.
I'm looking at the time. I'm like, yeah, you guys have questions? No, where
All right.
do I get my haircut? I do it myself. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time, and good luck.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're right.